Okay, well we'll take the top part off, and in here is where you have your disc, which determines when your softener will regenerate. This moves with some pulls on some cogs, so we'll take this top piece off to start with. So if you just loosen them first, do them opposite, just small amount. Once you've done that, you can take a few of these out. Have a little tray handy if you can, just to be organised. You'll notice that this is going to be slightly spring loaded when it comes off, because in the centre there's a spring. So just hold it down while you're taking these ones off. You notice it's spring loaded, so it's under pressure slightly. So now just gently lift that off, and there you'll see the disc that moves to you can advance the regeneration with this disc. This actually does come out. There's a tiny little O-ring in there, so you can, if you wish, push that out. Inside there's a little O-ring, which if water weeps out there when you try to manually adjust it, then you know you need a new O-ring in there, so you can leave that one in there. Just push that back for now. Push that in here. On here is the actual retainer for the spring. That goes in there like that, on top of that position there. Now this one didn't have the O-ring that was supposed to have been in here. There's an O-ring that goes inside there. And this one didn't have one, I noticed, but that's where that sits, so you can take that out. Now this is where it gets a little bit more technical. So if we want to dismantle this completely, we need to take this very small pawl off of here. This pawl is very small, and it goes on this tiny little spring here, so when you put it back on, do this later, but there's a little recess on the back that it actually goes back onto, so that goes it back into there, and you'll see that those cogs line up there with that disc, so we can take that one out. We can also take out this one. This is another one that connects onto there. You can see that goes in that very small hole there. When we've done that, we can take this number 7 disc out. The number on the disc represents the duration between regenerations, so you don't really need to worry about that unless you're going to be changing that. So that one comes out of there. Now we need to be careful again, because we have some more pulls here. This one goes on this side. Obviously need to remember which way round that goes. And there's another one this side. Now that one goes that way, and this little piece that sticks out here, that goes up on the top, so that goes above this actual disc. When you've got that out, you need to inspect this. Now this is the disc that moves and gives you all your sequencing, so as long as that looks nice and clean, there's no gouges, check for gouges on there. That's all you need to do on that. Again, this is a ceramic disc. You need to check for gouges, grooves. It shouldn't be rough, but obviously that's that one. You can take the centre pin out of there. You can see it's worn slightly there, where you can see it's been in that gap, something's been spinning around it, but you can take that off as well. So there's the head. There's a gasket there. Inside there's a gasket, you can see that, and obviously that one is proud, so as long as they're proud, it's going to give you the surface contact, then you're fine with those. These are the two drives, your metering system, water propellers in there turn these drives, which they actuate these poles, so you see that they're off center, so as they spin it moves these poles and moves the disc. It moves this disc. So that's the top part. So just for convenience, I'm going to just disconnect these two connections. Let's push those, take those out and unscrew them just for a minute while we're going to go around and start taking the rest apart. So we can do that. So this looked all sort of reasonable in there. There isn't really, I couldn't see anything wrong with that there, so I would say that's reasonable on that first step. So we'll stop there. Okay, we'll start checking a few more things now. This little split pin here holds this, goes on the bottom of this pin here, and it's a retainer for the these inlets, this inlet and the outlet. Obviously this is the inlet to water into the softener, this is the water out of the softener. Now for the sake of a few extra minutes, I think I'll just show you that these seals need to be good inside here, these O-rings, so that you don't get a water leakage when you connect your hoses. So we'll take this out and put that there. Take this plate off. So this is the plate that goes on, and sometimes they won't pull out easily, so I've just got a pair of gas pliers here just to give them a bit of a tweak and pull a little bit, just to make a little bit of a gap. These are very tight because seals are very good in there. Now we can just get that on there just gently. Don't ever force anything. It will all come nice and simple, but don't force it. So you just need to just make sure that they're good. Now these ones are good because they're quite tight on there, so you can pull those out and you'll see in there's two O-rings. Now these ones are really good condition on this softener. They're quite proud. They're higher than the surface on there, higher than the surface, so you know they're good. So we can take those out. Obviously these seals need to be replaced. If they become flat, they are not tight going in, they can leak. Either one will go in either one, so they're not a problem. So what we'll do now is we'll have a go at breaking down this a little bit further and just go through the common faults that you can get with these softeners. This little tutorial isn't a definitive guide. You're never going to learn everything about these softeners. You know, you'd need to go on a Kinetico training course, which is a couple of days intensive training, but this is meant to solve some simple problems that often go wrong with with these softeners. And as we're going through, I'll just point out some of the things that need to be checked, and some of the main items that you need to check. But we'll break this down in a second. So what we'll do is we'll take off what they call level 1. So we can lift this nice and gently. Let's lift it straight up here, turn it over, and there you'll see the mechanisms in there, and you've got the flow controls. You can see these operate these two drives there, and these spin so as the water flows. So you need to check that all the gears are there. Just keep turning that, make sure the drive turns. If they don't turn properly, then you need to be looking at changing some of these gears and the cogs. So there's that there, and you got this one here, so we do the same here. If you look down, you can see the drive to see whether it's all moving. This one appears to be okay. Everything seems to be fine. So that's an area to look. Now, there's no easy way of checking all these apertures, but one of the best ways to do it is, if you can wash them through, just wash it in clear water, and you can look through, lift this up to your eyes into the light, and you can actually look through and make sure all the apertures are clear. You can gingerly try some of these and make sure that they're clear. See, some of these won't go through. You need to the ones that don't go through, just make sure they're clear. So on this particular level, this is what you need to be checking for. Again, the gasket around here should be in good condition, so make sure that you check that properly. So there you have level 1 and its controls. Okay, remember where this little tube is on level 2 and the position of it. So you just lift this one up and you can turn them over. Again, you can see the gasket, which should be slightly proud, so obviously when it all goes back together it seals. This tube sticks out that much, that side, and that much. It shouldn't move, but just be very careful. Here you have a little filter that goes through here to the little venturi. There's a little venturi, little aperture in there. Now this needs to be, make sure that this should be clear. So this little filter here, you can blow through it, make sure that that is clear. So there's extra apertures again here. Make sure you hold this up to the light. You see holes that correspond. Make sure that you look at those. They correspond with both sides, but make sure they're nice and clear. So the thing to make sure you do here is make sure this little filter is clear and it's not blocked. That will pull out. You can pull that little rubber out, little rubber section out there. Put it right out of there, it will come out. And make sure that's clear. So that's one of the things to look for. So that's level 2. Next we have level 3. So we can take level 3 it's probably easier to take level 3, 4 and 5 off together. So you can take these 3 levels off. in one lump, because they are interlocked with drain valves and etc. So these two here are drain valves, and these need to be wriggled free, so just gently wriggle, don't pull them too tight. So just keep a little bit of pressure on until they come out of their apertures. So this obviously is level 5, so we just put this one away for a minute and just look at this particular level. Now in this level, these drain valves need to be, the seals need to be good on these, and make sure they're clean both sides. So make sure that they're, you look at that, this needs to be clean, and it needs to seat in there beautifully in that little hole there. You can get new seals for these, but if they look good and they seal, you can check those. You can see whether they sit down nice and neatly. And obviously there's O-rings on here, but because they were quite difficult to pull out and they seemed greased up reasonably well, I would suggest that they're probably okay too. So you have this bottom level, which is the level 5. So that one seems to be quite good. Make sure the holes are all clear and everything seems to be okay on that. So that's that one. On the base here, or the level that goes directly into the primary tank, you've got two other little drain valves, so we need to make sure that those are looking good. So they just sit in there in the little holes in there, so just make sure they're free and make sure they seem to be moving up and down, and that's all you need to do on that. What we're going to do now is we're just going to check these levels. Now you've got a little thing here called a control valve. So this one, make sure that the seals are good in there, and make sure that it also is good this other side. And then you've got your inlet valves and your outlet valves here. Which have got O-rings this side. These need to be in reasonable condition. Have a good look and make sure that they're not split or rolled or anything like that. These seem to be quite good. That needs to be looking good, so you need to make sure that's correct on that one. And there's an aperture there. Make sure this hole here, you can blow through it, make sure it's nice and clear in there, so that level's like that. So that's fine. Now one of the biggest problems is this brine pickup connection. Blow down there, make sure that there's a hole in there, give it a good clean. There's a little O-ring on there, little O-ring there, so you can put that in. Just take him out, put him in, make sure he's in there fine. There's another little hole there, in there, goes through to the other side. Make sure that's nice and clean. So make sure that's all working. All these seals, there's holes in the bottom. Make sure all the holes that you can see are all clear. Blow it out with an airline if you have one, or wash it through clear water. But that's all you need to do on that level. So, but this is important, this one. Make sure that this is nice and clear. Obviously just check down through there, make sure that's not blocked, and that one. And that's really it on that. Okay, so we need some silicone grease, some proper silicone grease, and we need to put grease around these seals for these inlet and outlets, especially that control valve there, so put that on there. What we do then, we've made sure this is nice and clean. We can then turn that over and put those on there. Obviously make sure you don't kink any of the, just push that in gently, and you're going to need to try and make sure this control valve goes in the proper way. So once you've got it in, again, make sure it's all nice and clean. So just go around these and make sure they're nice and clean. And then we've got this little rocker. You must remember to put this back on in this position there. So that sits on that. You can see that properly. That sits on there like that. This should now move up and down slightly. These will move up and down inside there. And then we can get this level. Again, we have what they call purge valves, which I've already showed you. These are purge valves. I think I called them drain valves earlier, but they're purge valves. So they need to be nice and sealed onto this plate. They're tapered, so they need to be sealed both sides. Again, these rubber ends can be replaced. They just push on, and there's some little O-rings in there. So we need to put a little bit of silicone on those if we can get them. Just a tiny little bit around each one. And make sure that's working. Now this goes on this way, so the easiest way of doing that is you remember this part here. This sits on there. There's also little notches, one there, one way around actually. Yeah, so we got the little notches there. So what we'll do is we'll connect this up again together. If you look at the these two, the notches, you can do it either way. You can hold it. It's a bit fiddly, but basically these go in there. So that goes in. Make sure that you don't force anything. It's a bit fiddly, like I say. And you've got that back on. So you've now got those levels back together, and you now need to line those two up. Make sure these seals are all in position, and those two sit over those two pins. They're check stems, and we can then gradually lower that back down on to there. So you've now got that on that level. So we're back to there again now. Okay, we're back to level 2 again, all cleaned. We check the apertures, you've got the filter on there, blown all the apertures out, made sure it's all looking good. So we can put that back. That goes down through that little hole there. Gently move it just a bit, and that's that next level. Okay, we've got this next level now, first level to go back on. We checked all that, checked all the apertures, made sure it's all hunky-dory, and we need to line that up again with the two dots, one there, one there. Once he drops on, you pretty much got that sorted. So we can now proceed to think about putting some of these screws back in. So now we put the head back on, tighten them, opposites, don't over tighten them, just enough to make sure that the seals are all compacted down, and then you're in business. So once you've done that, you're then looking at trying to reassemble the rest of the head. So we'll have a look at the head and we'll see what we can do. Now we'll start with this stem there, and we'll put this pawl on here. Now this one slots on like that. As soon as you got that one on, you can put the pin back through, and we can put this one on. This one goes up this way, and we just double check, make sure I'm not talking silly. That way, I should have said. There you go. So it goes on that way, so that one catches that cog at the bottom, and then the other one, the other side, catches that one. So we can push that down onto there. Sometimes it's a bit fiddly to get them right. Sometimes it's easier to put it on and then try and manoeuvre it. It depends. It's trial and error. Some ways are easier than others. Everyone has their own way of doing this, but it is a little bit fiddly. But that one goes in there. Make sure the spring is nice, so that should click. You should hear that click. And you put this one the other way. Let me just get this right. So basically this one goes down the bottom, that one goes that way. We can put this one on. After we put this on, then we just get the other disc. So now we've got this one, this cut out, the actual disc. We can put that one on. As you see, as it's spinning, it moves this pole out like that. So then we can put this one on. So this one goes in this little hole. So we can put that in there. So as you can see, we've got this one in, and you've got the little spring here. So this is important to remember, because we need this one on now. As you see, this teeth going to need to line up in there. So if you look at the back of there, a very, very, very tiny little slot which sits on that piece of spring. So if we put that one on and clip that over, we now find that is how that should be set up. Now we need to also put this seal back in. So we put a little bit of silicone in there. In this gap. Put a little bit more on there. Make sure that's in there properly. We can then put this spring and the actuator on there. Then we can put this on here. Push that on. Again, this is under pressure, so we need to just fix that in position. And we need to make sure that this is working. Just make sure just to set the seal, just push this down a couple of times just to set the seal in place. So we'll go and put the rest of the screws in for the head. We just screw these back again. Don't over tighten them. Pinch them up opposite, proper engineering way. Don't use power tools doing this, because it's bad practice and you'll strip threads and you've got no feel for the thing if you do it like that. So just go around. Once you've done that, make sure they're all equally pinched. There you go. Okay. Bit of silicone. Redo these. Put some silicone around these. Give them a bit of a spin as you're putting them in. There you go. Give them a bit of a spin. Incidentally, when you connect your water softener up, you should connect these onto your hoses first and then push them in to the softener. Small thing, but people try and tighten them up and they spin inside the thing and they don't get them tight enough. In fact, this particular softener, somebody used compound. Never use compound. Anything like that, you don't need to. And always remember, when you put your hoses on, always make sure to have filter washers on the seals. So you can push that down in there. Now little split pin, put it through the top bottom. That stops that from falling apart. So there you have the strip down of this particular item. You need to go into much more detail if you were obviously working on these all the time, but what we've done here is we've basically just gone through, you know, cleaning, re-siliconing, just checking the seals and how it operates, making sure the, you know, the meter, all these pores are working, the cogs, showing you where the small apertures are inside the appliance, just to make sure that those basics are covered. And really that's really what the what this is all about. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that helps you with your softener.